Yes, I came across this article by Mr. Opio. And as they say, history repeats itself. During the first liberation of during the first liberation war of Kenya and the second liberation war of Kenya, we have had some prominent people who, as people are fighting for liberation, they are either out of the country, or if they are in the country, they are in jail. And when they are in jail, if you compare the way they are suffering in jail and you compare them to an ordinary jail bird, you'll find that they are living a very, very nice life. And then when the liberation comes, the first liberation and the second liberation, you find that these people, actually, they are very clever. They place themselves strategically. You fight 90% of the war, they are not there. But they are always there at the finishing line. And then they claim they have played 5% of the participation, but they'll claim 95%. What's more, they become, their supporters become so hostile that any insinuation that these men are conmen are met with a lot of hostility. And you are reminded, hii uhuru unapata yeye ndiye alilete. They say it with such authority that you'd think that Kenyans were just going on with their own day to day. Then Mr. JI-TENGE just woke up one day, went fought for Kenya's liberation single-handedly. And then after succeeding, he started knocking door to door. Amkeni, amkeni, Kenya imepata uhuru, come on them. That is the impression that we have been having. Let us start with the first one. Then we have the second one. And as I said, the second one mirrors the first one. The first one, as you can see what Mr. Opio has said, is that Jomo Kenyatta lived in luxury. In fact, some of the lives that he was living, one would wonder if he was a prisoner. I stayed in West Pokot for 5 years, between 1983 to 1988. 4.5 going to 5. And in Kapenguria, there was a place called Kenyatta Cell. First of all, there is the law courts at JI-TENGE High School. Now, that is the only thing that has been preserved for quite a long time. So we can give it a benefit of doubt and say, okay, JI-TENGE High, that courtroom is the courtroom that Jomo Kenyatta and Kapenguria 6 went through. But if you go to Kapenguria prison, the small prison that him and the other 6 or 7, there was Maham Singh. There was a Maham Singh who was also there. If you look at that, there was a lot of questions which we could notice even in 1983. No, we didn't notice. 83, I was 22 years. And there's a lot of things we were told, but later on, after trying to put 2 and 2 together, I came to realize that there is a lot of lies there. There's a lot of lies there. And I'll give you an example. First and foremost, there is a place where they had on the wall, they had a circular red thing where they said that there was somebody who was walking around and was annoyed with Jomo Kenyatta and decided to shoot. Now, looking at the house, it was a mad house, but then anybody who has handled a gun, do you think that one shot can kill somebody who's in the house? You even don't know whether the place you are aiming at is where he is or something. It is not that he was in a window where you could shoot it. No, you just shoot at the house. And the place was preserved that here is a place where Akaburu came and wanted to shoot Kenyatta. Two, there is some steps there where there was a volleyball pitch. They were saying that there is a cement, a beacon there. They say that the person who shot was standing there. A lot of bullets have been shot when I'm around, and that was from 1983. That 53 to 83. That is how many years? 30 years. But then, even the time I was staying there, if you are to tell me where I was standing when shooting something, but they came. That is one thing they cheated us. And then they gave us a lot of. They showed us the Kenyatta cell. They showed us there was a room where they said this was the store. This is the store. This is the room where all other prisoners were staying. This is where Kenyatta was staying alone. This is and whatever. They just gave that. And then there were some houses there, single houses, 9 by 9. I know you know about houses which are called 10 by 10. 9 by 9, I'm saying slightly smaller than what you know. I remember Enoch Mwachala Mbogo used to stay in one of those houses. I remember some APs used to stay in those houses. They were outside the wire mesh. And we used to be told those were houses which belonged to prison warders who used to guard them. That is what we were told. But what happened? 20 years later, those houses which were supposed to be prison warders' houses were now converted, and it was said that those houses were even renamed. Mwachala's house was now renamed. When Mwachala was staying there, Enoch Mwachala Mbogo was staying there, we were told that it used to belong to prison warders, but later on it was Achieng' Oneko's house. Now, how that one can be in 1983, it's Mwachala's house, and we are being told it used to be a prison warder's house. And then in the year 1999, it becomes Achieng' Oneko's former prison cell. And then I took some picture outside the prison, the so-called prison. There was a tree. There are two trees which were written. This tree was planted by Mzee Jomo Kenyatta in 1953. The tree was a cypress. By that time, I didn't have the knowledge about trees, especially cypress, that as I know today. And out of those two trees, which each one of them with a notice board written, this was planted by Jomo Kenyatta. The same tree, between them, there is a small tree growing up. And we were told that this place, we sweep each and every day. We sweep each and every day. But in 1978, that was 5 years before 83. In 1978, this small tree just started growing. So people started calling it Nyayo tree, that it is growing after Jomo Kenyatta. But I later came to understand a cypress of 30 years, softwood. And then you see, the tree that we were saying that it just started growing 5 years ago. In a cypress or this softwood, 5 years it matures. But this one was still. And then let me tell you one thing. We have farmers who decide just to plant cypress for the whole land, so that after 5 years they sell the trees. So telling us that was a cheating. And then recently, I saw on TV that a very different place. They were saying, "Oh, this is the place where Jomo Kenyatta was jailed." And I asked. There was this page, the West Pokot, what do you call, Facebook page. I said, "No, this is even if I'm seeing it from the Facebook, this is not the place we have." I was in West Pokot between 83 and 88. This place is not even near the Jomo Kenyatta cells, whatever. Then somebody, you know, when you see the Facebook, you don't trust the person who was answering you to be exactly that person. But somebody posting, maybe it was him, as Samuel Losron, Pogisio. He said that I think in the 90s, they rediscovered where Jomo Kenyatta's cells were. I don't need to add more. You mean those people who are there with Jomo Kenyatta in the 50s, by 90s they're already dead, and then people who are born in the 70s now come up and say, hey, bwana tunadanganya. Then from there, Jomo Kenyatta started living with his families in Turkana. Now that is a prison, imagine. And if you see the Mr. Opio's article, is that Jomo Kenyatta, Jomo Kenyatta they had to get a housing fit for him and and there was even allocation for his wife and children. His wife was to get half of what he gets. Each child who was there was getting a quarter. There was even a problem. There was even a problem between Jomo Kenyatta and Paul Gay concerning Margaret Kenyatta. It is even alleged that there is this pilot Muigai, who died a few decades ago, the son to Margaret Kenyatta. There is even a strong belief that he's a Mukamba of a single mother. Now, imagine that is how he's supposed to be a prisoner. He was taken to Marral, where he Dio had to be moved, and he had to stay even in the Dio's house. And it was even said that the Dio's house was not even enough. Another house was built. Of course, it was strategically built where he could look at Mount Kenya from there. And you know what museum people say? You meet museum people, they tell you that Jomo Kenyatta wrote facing Mount Kenya because he was seated on this and he was facing Mount Kenya. No, Kenyatta wrote facing Mount Kenya even before in the 40s, in the 40s. So you find that hapo tunadanganywa. And let me tell you one thing. The little that we know, tushukuru Mungu, because we may never know a lot. Now let us go to the latter day saints, latter day liberators, and latter day whatever. If you look at the second liberation, Raila was very good in strategically placing himself at the center of the things at the time of action, and then he claims it. Just like the advantage with the confronting with Raila's supporters, diehard supporters, is that they do not have the privileges that Kenyatta's supporters had of either jailing you or killing you. But these people would hate you. They'll tell you, you see, you people are, see, some of us suffered, including me. Some of us suffered for the second liberation. But they don't see that. When you listen to them talking about him, it's like we were, kila mtu alikuwa kwa nyumba yake anang'orota, and then he wakes up at everybody, amkeni, nimeletea nyinyi second liberation. But then the question I usually ask Raila's supporters, you tell me that that Raila fought for freedom of speech, so that you can use that freedom of speech to blast him. Now, this is a question I want to pose to everybody. Okay, Raila fought for us for freedom of speech. Did that now say that Raila was immune from criticism? Supposing he single-handedly fought for that, does it mean that now he can do anything without being criticized? But the major question is, if you are that hostile and he has never been the president, when he becomes the president, would anybody criticize him? I want to use the last few minutes talking about committee, because I recorded something and said the committee secrets that Raila does not want to be known. Hey, I've been abused. Nikatukanwa, nikafanya nini. But you see, the truth stands. People talked, and when, first of all, within 10 days of my talking, ODM had a big meeting in Voi. and they produced a former prison warder called John somebody. And I think an impromptu Harambe was done, and he was given 100,000. I remember Sifuna even saying that uh, that John will be given an escort because some people may waylay him and snatch the 100,000. I want to say this. Raila was a government informer inside the committee. What else can you explain that he was ready to come out of detention and give evidence against other people, including the treason charge against Njonjo? You see, he was promised. This is the situation. He has a habit of doing something. Then later on, he discovers that he has beaten more than he can chew. And in such cases, he mellows down. I can give more than 5 examples. There is that time when he was at Uhuru Park, and Madam Ida knew that if that case was to be taken to court, he could not be convicted. No, you cannot convict him. It is hard. But you see, for the case to continue, you see, Kenya cases continue forever. And when they're continuing, he's in cells. So he does a lot of those things. And then when he found himself in detention, he offered to, at a price of freedom. But then freedom was not coming. I want to say 2 things. One, his wife used to bring him food, and they used to be set aside to have private moments together. Now, most likely, anybody would say that that was a conjugal visit. Another thing that used to happen was Raila had been given a farm. He had a shamba. You see, detainees were different from prisoners. You are detained without trial. First of all, you are detained for as long as the president would decide. A person who has been tried, you are told you have been jailed for so many years. But a detainee, you just stay there as long as the president wants. Another difference when it comes to farming or even whatever, detainees used to stay within their rooms for 23 and a half hours per day. Prisoners those days, apart from a few who used to do things such as furniture, woodwork, or anything, but prisoners used to just wake up in the morning, you go to the farm, you farm at the prison's farm. Whatever you produce is eaten by it is the property of prison. I say, and I'll repeat it again, Raila was given a few acres and some jembes and whatever. He could wake up, go and farm and plant things. The fertilizer and the seed were supplied by Mama Ida. Mama Ida supplied that, and she used to come. But every cloud has a silver lining. It is because of these private times that were happening that everybody, the rumors that was happening in prison or in detention was that Charles Rubia would not make it. Charles Rubia would die. So it is Raila who told Madam Ida about it, and Madam Ida looked for Edith Matiba and told her. And once the secret is out, it is you cannot control it. So it is even, but to me, whatever, will be it good or bad, to me, the important thing is that the truth is laid bare. It is laid bare. And if it is laid bare, I would say that exaggeration is worse than cheating. Exaggerating is worse than cheating. So the truth should come out without exaggeration. Then he has come out. But as I talk today, I talk with a little more confidence than before, because Jinsi saw that. You see, alidandia. And he gave out his 4 ministers first and then added school, the Turkana woman there. But to me, it is neither here nor there. The important thing to me is the truth is spoken. Some people say, oh, first of all, they argue and say, no, 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 you are cheating, you're saying something. And then later say, na kwani Raila alikukulia nini? No. In intelligence, in special branches, say, first of all, establish, is the informer telling the truth or not? If he's telling the truth, then note it is the truth. Now, if I'm telling the truth, and finally, I want to tell you that although it is not applicable to this matter, if you are looking for a situation where 2 people are friends and one goes and discloses the other, you look for a long time. Maybe if you have some money to produce and then you see, if you bribe somebody, he or she can. But finding a genuine friend of somebody to tell you the secrets of the other friend, utangoja.